Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with my first episode of 2021. Since my last guest, who is, I think, Global SEO Strategist of IBM, Jesse McDonald, was on my show, I think sometime in December, just before Christmas. And since then, I've been working round the clock, running Podfest Asia, which is Asia's first ever podcast festival. And I'm super thrilled to have Claude Silver on my podcast. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Amazing to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for getting up so early.
I'm still awake after I came home from the gym, right? I went for a really late night gym session. I think it was 11 p.m. by the time I left. So I've been staying up because I had lots of Red Bull and coffee. So super awake.
I love Red Bull.
Yeah, and let's dive in because I think having you on my podcast is such a big thrill, and you're someone who has been on my radar since the pandemic started. And when I binge listen to podcasts on my smart speakers working from home, you had your own podcast called the Silver Lining Podcast. I'm a big fan of that podcast, and you inspired me with your, the conversations that you have with so many awesome guests. So in addition to that, I have also consumed Gary Vee, of course, Gary Vaynerchuk's content for years. And I often heard him talking about you and the very important job and the role that you do at VaynerMedia. So it's such an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Brilliant. And, I found out also on LinkedIn that you're the first ever Chief Heart Officer of VaynerMedia. So everybody knows about VaynerMedia, right? Because it's fantastic full service digital agency, and you were hand selected by Gary Vee himself to be his right hand woman, and you serve to cultivate the hearts of your 800 plus employees. Yeah. Is this still about 800 plus at this moment?
Yeah, oh my God, it's close to 1,000 now, I think.
Oh wow, it's growing at a really rapid rate, right?
Yeah, we're having fun. We're having a lot of fun.
So I'm going to jump in with some questions for you because these are the questions I prepared, and I've always been, waiting for this opportunity to do this one-to-one with you. So we know that, you have this innate desire, right, and drive to constantly push your boundaries. I also know that from an earlier podcast show that I heard while researching for this particular show, you started learning how to drive at age 13, right? So there's a reckless streak in you, and tell us whether that actually helped you in your career. And did you ever get into trouble by pushing the boundaries all the time?
All the time. I got into trouble all the time. But that was kind of, that was the after effect. I mean, I'm a risk taker. I'm one of those people that I think about something and I go and do it rather than just think about it and think about it and think about it. So whether or not I was driving across country when I was 14, snowboarding really fast off of like some serious cliffs, I like to push the boundaries a bit. And of course, now that I've grown up quite a bit and I have a daughter, I've slowed down a little. But for me, I think I like to be in action. I like to take action. I like to take the initiative on things. And, I take a little bit of information and I distill it. I bring people with me and we go for it, because no time like the present, right?
Yeah, no time like the present, and to live, each day like it's your last. I think for many people, especially the pandemic, right? When it happened, we are more reflective about, how we wish that we could have done this, before the pandemic, or how we wish we could have done it differently as well. So we know that your incredible career trajectory, including the story of how Gary Vee actually created this position of Chief Heart Officer, a role that is specifically tailored to your unique talents and your capabilities. So maybe can you tell us, what does it mean to have heart in an organization? What do you actually mean by heart? What does heart means to you?
Yeah, I mean, heart fundamentally means taking care of each and every human being. So every single one of us has a heart. It's our central operating system. Without it, we die. Every organization has human beings in them. I mean, you need humans, you need heart. And so for me, it's really being able to wrap my arms around the company and the culture in a holistic way. And then each and every person, the high touch nature of what I do is making sure I'm checking in with people, making sure I understand what's going on in their world outside of work, what's going on inside of their world at work, how I can help connect the dots for them. and get them to a place where they feel like they can absolutely be successful. Because when they're successful and happy, we're successful. And so it feeds itself on and on and on.
This is brilliant. And I think your sharing so far has already been, really riveting to hear. And I know that it means that to have an organization, right, it means also having the right strategies, the tactics as well. And of course, many people, in the world that we're living in, even before the pandemic, right, they always are all about climbing the corporate ladder. And of course, having the confidence to continue to do so as well. But we know that you have this reckless streak in you, and you just mentioned that you started driving a car at age 13, or was it 14?
Well, 13, but 14, I got my license. Yeah.
Okay. So where did that actually come from? And I also know that you're a big music fan. So does it come from the music that you listen to, or was music ever a common thread in your career?
Oh, I love that. I love that question so much. You get me. You really get me. So let's see. I'm a child of the 80s, and the 80s music, The Cure, Depeche Mode, that type of music is really my kind of music. The Smiths, early REM. I also like a lot of trance music. And that music has always been like, there's always a soundtrack playing in my head, and there's always a soundtrack, I think, to my life. I do think about things quite a bit like that. I never worked in the music industry, but I go see live shows anytime I can. Obviously not now in COVID, but music is fundamentally something I need. It just like, it gets me. It gets my emotions going. It gets my heart racing too at some point. So, and in terms of the first part of the question, which is like, where did that risk taking come from? I really actually think because I wasn't a good student in school, and I knew I wasn't a good student, and I knew I wasn't going to turn into a good student, it almost allowed me, or I took it upon myself to do other things with my time, to start dreaming about other things, because I really thought I was such a failure when it came to school, academics, that I turned to other things to feel. I'm one of those people that I need to feel texture. I need to feel the energy of things. And I think that's probably why my job works for me, because I get to like feel what other people are going through, as a real empath. So, I just like I push the boundaries and I take risks so I can feel something, and it works.
This is brilliant. And I feel the goosebumps on my skin when you mentioned about all these great bands, right?
Yeah.
The Smiths, Depeche Mode. Yeah. You mentioned about, these bands, it kind of like make me feel that you're no different from the Deadheads, people who love the Grateful Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I think during an era when people get on a bus, right, and actually follow the band around the world, or maybe tour around the country, just to see them play a different set list, in every venue, every city. So do you also do the same thing when you were younger, or before the pandemic, right? Were you catching a lot of live shows?
Yeah, so funny that you should say that. So The Cure, Robert Smith and The Cure, I've seen 19 times now. And I started seeing them when I was, 17, 18 years old. And even, to this day, I still go see them. The last time I saw them was in Italy, June of, 2019, yeah. So there's no Deadhead bus to go see The Cure, but I've traveled a lot with my best friend to see them. And I just love them so much. It's some dark music in many ways, but it's very emotional music. And I also think he's a phenomenal musician. So yes, I travel a lot to see music like that. And there's certain shows I'll always catch, like Brandi Carlile. I love her. I'll go see her when she's in New York City. Psychedelic Furs, just Adamant, stuff like that.
You are name dropping all the bands that I love, and they are actually my bucket list bands. So yeah. I'll definitely squeeze in a couple more questions relating to music later on. Yeah, but because we have to satisfy some of our listeners and audience, CMOs especially, so they will definitely be very interested to know more about how you actually get to work with Gary Vee. I know that you guys met sometime in 2016 or before that. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. So how did you guys meet? Where were you at the time before you embark on this journey with him?
Yeah, no, it's a good one. I was living in London, and I was running a digital strategy at an big advertising agency, working on a lot of P&G brands. My best friend, who at that moment was running media for Unilever, had met Gary in New York, and she connected us on email. And again, I was in London, he was in New York. We had a very brief conversation on the phone, which was 3 minutes long, and it was magnificent. I flew to New York, I met him, we had coffee, and that was, September of 2013. And I moved to New York and started working with him May of 2014. So, I've been there 6.5 years now. I've been chief heart officer for 5 years, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Like, working with him is invigorating, it's educational, it's motivating, it's radical, it's a lot of fun, and it fills me up. He's so smart. He's just so incredibly intuitive and spot on that I just take it in all the time. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be able to work with him every day.
I feel like you and Gary sets the tone for how, the beautiful culture of feeling and connectedness and understanding who people are at the core and showing people to show their authentic best selves at work, right? Just like how the Cure fans or the Depeche Mode fans, they are at their authentic best selves at concerts.
That's it. You totally got it. The other thing that Gary is so good at, and what he has taught me, I think, and many other people, is play to your strengths. So he put me in this position because this is my strength, stronger than any other. Being with people and motivating people is what I'm built to do, more so than being an advertiser. And he believes that we should all be, letting go of our weaknesses, not concentrating on those, but leaning in on the things that we really are good at, because what you're really good at is actually what is going to bring you the most joy anyway. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic answer.
It's so simple, right? It's so simple.
It is 100%. And it's like, in VaynerMedia, what exactly is your role, and how do you go about creating this culture with Gary Vee?
Well, we are very high touch, meaning, we are not leading from an ivory tower anywhere. We're actually in the business. We're with people. We're in the Slack messages with people. Virtually, we're on screen now all the time with groups of people doing some jam sessions, one-on-one sessions. He's in the brainstorms with some people, some teams, doing some creative ideation or strategic ideation to take to clients. So we are operators, but we're also executing. We're, our hands. And that's how we manifest this culture and cultivate this culture every day. We don't micromanage. We believe in autonomy. We believe that you put people in the positions, let them go, let them fly, and we're there if we need to catch them. But, again, when you put people in the right positions, like they will do remarkable things.
I just had, a lunch session this afternoon with a fellow podcaster. So he's actually still juggling his job, other than doing podcasting, right, which is his passion project. He's still juggling that with his job at a reputable Asian bank in a data scientist role. So he told me that he couldn't muster the courage to follow his North Star and go into podcasting full time. So yeah. His reasons, or his excuse, his reasons was that monthly salary is like a drug, just like food, water, Netflix, and social media. I agree with his statement, and I know that you actually resigned when you told Gary, "I'm done," right? During one part of your career at VaynerMedia, and did it make sense for you to quit, get VaynerMedia and then pursue your mission and purpose, and go back to your origins and be with people every day during that time when you decided to tender your resignation?
Well, had I not gotten this role, had we not created the chief heart officer role, I probably would have gone back to school and gotten a master's in psychology or a master's in counseling psychology, so that I could really affect change and really facilitate growth and development with people. Because I love being with kind of the mess that we are. And I mean that in the best of ways. None of our lives are simple. None of our lives have, let me put it this way, all of our lives have had some kind of stress in them and some kind of, drama or sadness, just like all of our lives have had a lot of positivity and glory and happiness. I like being with people as they are in that journey. So I figured, okay, well, if I'm a counseling psychologist or a social worker, I can be with people, if I'm, or a consultant. So I probably would have gone back to school, maybe started my own company where I could help cultures really, become more empathetic and more heart-based. And the great thing is that, we sat down 4 months after I left the company, and he said, that's it, you're coming back as chief heart officer. And I was like, yeah, cool, sign me up. I knew what that was. It's me. It just happens to have a great title, but it's always been me.
This is fantastic. And I think that's a beautiful gift and sharing for our audience and listeners as well. On that note, it might be a good time to ask you, when you're recruiting at VaynerMedia, right? What are the exact qualities that you are looking for?
Okay, so we look for people that can do the job. So I call it skill set fit and culture addition. So we want people that can actually do the job. And then the culture addition is the addition of like understanding that someone is an empathetic leader, or listening to people answer questions like, have you ever failed? If so, what happened? What are the lessons that you've learned? Have you ever given someone bad advice? Have you ever gotten bad advice? What is good advice? Really asking open-ended questions so you can get to know how a person actually, thinks and feels, how they're going to treat a team, how they're going to work within a team. So skill set fit culture addition, and it really allows us to then get people that have diverse thinking as well. Obviously diversity is very important today, race, ethnicity, nationality, sexuality, all of that stuff, but also diversity of values, diversity of like how someone plays in the sandbox with another person. That's really cool. The thing that will never work at VaynerMedia is someone that's a micromanager, someone that feels as though they need to, siphon off of someone else. That's never going to work. We want people who feel like, yes, spread your wings, go do it. We're going to be here, so that's what we're looking for. People that are team builders, teammates, that want to get in the sandbox together and want to go there with us the next 5, 10, 12 years.
This is fantastic. And I think those are great open-ended questions as well. You mentioned about how many times have you failed, or when was the last time you took advice and it didn't turn out the way, that it's supposed to. So if I flip the table on you, and ask you these 2 questions, how would you answer it? How many times have you failed?
At least 100 times. But I've stood back up 101 times. That's the difference, of making sure that I can tell you how many times I fail. I fail every day at something, but I get back up. And we want to teach people that that's okay to fail. Stand back up. That's where we get caught, I think, is when we feel like we are just failures, or we're just losers, or we stink, or we're not smart. That's not the case at all. That is not the case at all. Everyone has something to offer. Every single person. And sometimes it just, it's like a diamond. You have to go through so much rock, so much mountain to find that one little diamond. And that's called like resistance. That's called grit. That's called really digging in and wanting to have enough self-awareness to like get back up every single day.
Such a beautiful answer. And you're inspiring me back, with this sharing. And I have to also say that, I'm also someone who failed many times. In fact, I always like to actually tell people that I'm the biggest loser in the room because I failed repeatedly. And your answer right earlier on, 101 times. I think I failed about the same number of times, 101 times, and that get us where we are today, right? This is a cumulative of all these past failures and make us being able to learn better and become a better version of ourselves through repeated failing. Yeah. So
totally.
Thank you so much for that particular answer. I think that probably is one of the code that I will actually, screenshot and maybe stick it to the wall. Claude Silver said that fail 101 times.
Okay.
Amazing. And we're going to continue with some of our other questions, especially some that are submitted by our Podfest Asia and also CMO Asia podcast community. How is the person wired more interesting than a polished answer that was prepped right to you when you do a conversation or interview Q&A with your candidates?
What was the first part of the question?
As in, how is the person wired? How a person is wired more interesting than a polished answer that they might give you?
Yeah. Well, you want to see how someone's going to color. Are they going to color outside of the lines? Are they going to allow themselves to really express who they are? Can they dream? And it's okay to be messy. So a polished answer feels to me like it's pre-recorded. There's a script to it. And I don't know where in humanity is there a script to anything. Like if you're really rolling up your sleeves and feeling life, there's no script. You're just going one foot in front of the other. Yeah, you have a plan, you have a goal, you have a vision in mind. But back to the first question, you're going to stumble. You're going to stumble, and that's part of it. And as long as you know that it's okay to stumble and you have people around you to pick you back up or to remind you of like the magnificent person that you are, you'll get up again, you'll go again. So I would rather a non-polished, non-scripted response 10 out of 10 times.
Brilliant. And we know that in VaynerMedia, there is no fear, there is no politics at all. And these are all eliminated by giving people space and making them feel safe, right? So how do you go about doing that? And what are the tactics that work? And what are those that didn't work?
Yeah. I mean, by the way, we're not perfect. Every single day, we chip away at it. We chip away, we chip away, we chip away. So that's the first thing. But, when you provide people with psychological safety, which means when you find where the pockets of toxicity are, cynicism and fear, and you remove them from the system, you add safety. People feel like they can show up, they can be their unique self, they can come and, want to get involved with you. But allowing for psychological safety means everyone has to believe that difference is good, that everyone should use their voice, that everyone should take up space, that the more diversity, the better. We have to get to a place, not only like in a team, in a company, in the world. That's a whole nother story, right? So you have to be able to eliminate fear, and fear is going to hide in little corners. But the thing about fear and the thing about negativity is it's loud. So you got to find it, you got to squash it, and you got to make positivity louder. And the way you do that is by spending time with people. Letting people know I got your back, letting people know I see you and I get that this is really challenging, or I understand that client is really frustrating. Like, let's talk through it. Or I get that you are having a hard conversation with your manager, and you didn't like how it went, or you didn't get the raise that you wanted. Let's talk about it. I'm not going to spend a year on it. Let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going on, and then let's get you on another track, so that you can be successful, so that we can, get the client what they want, but also help the client become a better person, whatever it is. You got to spend time with people.
I got to mention David Bowie because you mentioned The Cure and Depeche Mode, right? So obviously you're someone who also have really good taste in music and probably also like David Bowie. he's one of those one of a kind artists, right? That also epitomize everything about, he's the antithesis of, people who believe in bad faith, who are cynical, who are all about Philistinism, And I think Gary Vee is another person who is just like David Bowie, right? With a model that everyone can actually learn so much from and use that model, not just in, how to treat people, how to build a team, but inspiring people even after, like 5 years since David Bowie has passed away, right? People are still talking about his model and how it can be a perfect example for entrepreneurs or artists or creative people to continue to function. So are you also a big fan of David Bowie?
Yeah, I am. You know the song Heroes? It's one of my all-time favorites. It's so good. Yes, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of people that are okay not being perfect and don't even believe in perfection. I'm a big fan of people who want to color outside the lines. I'm a big fan of people that actually have fallen down 100 times and gotten up 101 times. Like, I'm a fan of people that are okay with getting dirty and like, look, it's not easy all the time, but you rise up. The next day will be better. You rise up. The next day will be better, And I'm a real fan of people that want to make other people's lives better, happier, more joyful, easier. That's what I'm really a fan of. How you make someone feel is the only thing that matters to me.
How do you strike that balance between, elevating people, lifting others up? And of course, you have to juggle that and find a balance between business and people, right? So we know that these are always the biggest challenge for people in the HR space, and also for the CMOs, who are tuning in. Anything or strategies like, I don't know, fire fast and hire slow to achieve that balance?
Well, we call it kind candor, and that is actually being extremely honest and extremely kind with people. Kindness comes first, being kind, not coddling people, caring about people. And when you care about people authentically and they know that you want the best for them, and by the way, the best might not be at your company. When you care about people, you can go in and give people the honest feedback and say, like, I need you to, get more incremental revenue from that client. I need you to not have any spelling mistakes in that presentation. I need you to figure out why you are such a micromanager. I need you to help train your team to become like the all-star team, those types of things. You just got to be honest, but you go into it with kindness. And that's the key. And that's Gary's biggest mantra, kindness.
Donald Trump, right, epitomized everything, with the saying that you will never win by being a bully. Yeah. So we know that by just talking to you for the past 20 minutes that you are romantic about how you treat people, especially in VaynerMedia. So what do you lean into besides gratitude and recognizing one another?
Well, I actually lean into joy. I mean, I want to have a smile on my face, and I want other people to have a smile on their face. And emotions come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. And we need to remember that they come and they go, and they come and they go. And so, we all have this negative. We have so many negative voices in our heads. How do we look at that and then try to replace them with something that is not only positive but realistic? Because the voices, whatever you tell here, whatever you say here, your subconscious is picking up on it and will end up manifesting it in some way, shape, or form. So let's recognize what's going on. How many things you tell yourself in that are bad about yourself repetitively, and find something else to say. Like, find something that you're good at. Find something that you appreciate about yourself. So I lean into joy. I lean into being of service. I lean into the fact that we are all, at the end of the day, we are all the same. We are all experiencing this pandemic together on screen, in our homes, with our dogs, with our children, same. So let's not act like one of us is better than the other, because we're not. We are equal.
And we are all on the same road. So it's great advice. I want to ask you for more advice. What would you give in terms of advice for those two groups of people? Number one, the group who wants to climb the corporate ladder. And number two, the group who wants to follow their North Star.
Okay, I love that question. Okay, climbing the corporate ladder. Why do you want to climb the corporate ladder? Like, what do you think? Is that just because that's what you were told life was all about? That you climb and you climb and you climb and you get the biggest car and the biggest building and the biggest paycheck? You have to ask yourself, as you climb, are you going to be happy? Or are you just doing it because that's what someone told you to do? That's what a book told you to do, or you learned in school. Climbing, by the way, you can go like this, bump, 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 bump. Or for me, I went like this. Nothing was linear, right? Nothing was linear at all. Like, you can look at my resume. It's not bump, 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 bump. Following, find your North Star. Find what it is that like lights you up inside. Find what it is that is a purpose that I guarantee is bigger than yourself. And when you find something that's bigger than yourself, that is going to light you up. That is going to make you go to sleep with a smile on your face and want to get up the next day and try to get closer. I really believe that life is meant to be of service to ourselves and our family and our community and each other. That is it. So whatever that North Star is, like, find out what it is, like, what's your guiding principle, what your vision is, what your purpose, what your goals are, and chip away. But for me, climbing the corporate ladder, I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in the ladder. I think that's fictitious. And I think to even say that there's a ladder already sets up I'm better than you. And I can't stand any of that. I really can't. I cannot stand hierarchy and authority. Not today, So we are all learners and we are all teachers. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I have to run to my next meeting. I'm so sorry.
No problem, Claude, because I just noticed we are at our 32 minute mark. So just one last ask before you go.
Yeah.
So, I want to close up by re-inviting you again to come on to our show. It will be a different show this time. It's called PodFest Asia, Asia's first ever podcast festival, because I prepared another 100 questions regarding your Silver Lining podcast.
Okay.
And I actually look forward to you, coming on to the festival and maybe talk about your podcast the next time. So maybe I'll show up again by DM on LinkedIn, and we'll connect after this again.
I can't wait. Thank you so much. I hope you get some sleep.
Thank you, Claude. It's a pleasure talking to you. Bye-bye. See you.